Hello, everyone. So I'm here with Bob Marley. I'm just kidding. This is Sunny. And I want to show Sunny this Chinese dating show episode. This is Chinese Couples Therapy. And I just thought this would be a good episode to analyze together. The story is pretty simple. So basically, this is the girl. She's 33. And she's been kind of dating, putting a lot of time into this guy. This guy, by the way, looks a lot like a friend I had in college. He's 22. So 33-year-old put a lot of time into a 22-year-old. He is not feeling her, and he wants to break up with her. He even at first, in the beginning of the episode, he didn't even admit that they were dating. He was like, "You're just a sister to me. Like, you're just an older sister to me."
你都到现在了，都说到这份上了，你还不承认？你心里边
需要让我承认什么？你需要让我承认什么？
我是你的女朋友，你是我的男朋友。
And then eventually they keep pressing him. He's like, "Okay, fine, we were dating, but I'm just not in love with her." Yeah, it's kind of funny, like hearing their story. That's why you heard me earlier laughing. Basically, to summarize, she's already put in 200,000 Chinese RMB. So like that's about dollars into him. And but then one of his excuses for not feeling her is that like one time she got jealous and then she took a knife and like cut up a cucumber and put it in his bed. It's like, if you ever make me jealous or you ever betray me, I'm gonna do this to you.
有把水果刀，然后还有一根黄瓜被切断了。我从来没见过这样的人。
So that was one incident. And then the second incident, one time she came to try to find him and she forgot which door he was at. So imagine our apartment complex. She went to every door and knocked to try to find him.
Goodness.
差不多那一楼都被摁过来了。然后没理他，他就坐在楼群里哭。
So that's why I wanted to bring you on, because like on one hand, she did spend a lot of money on him, but that doesn't justify this kind of crazy behavior.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds that, she's going to have to take some self-responsibility and at least note that, she didn't have to do all of that.
Yeah.
So I wonder what was the intriguation to invest into him so deeply.
Yeah. And what he said was she had a bad relationship and she was getting out of it. And that's how she met him. So it's like, she seems like the type of woman who puts a lot into something. It's like she meets a new guy. She wants to like, I'm going to give it all to you. But like you said, Sonny, my thought about this is exactly how a lot of guys do the same to a woman. Like they'll spend so much money, spend so much time. And it's interesting, refreshing to see it the opposite way. It's like you're seeing the opposite of it happen here.
Yeah. I read something that saying like the most powerful drug is another human being. So then with time and money and emotions and all these things being invested into another person, I've been there before, man, didn't know that I can be that person, but be in a relationship, and then whatever the case was, afterwards is like, oh, like I see her with another guy, and it makes me think, malicious thoughts, and you're just like, what is happening to me? So I get it, because on a small scale, I've been there before, so I can only imagine, like, people going the extreme.
Yeah. And the guy's justification was like, well, it was her choice. It's her choice to do this. It was her choice to... I can even give all the money back to you, and even with interest.
我之前给他过2次，他拿出来钱，一张一张的在我面前。小刘，你。
So the guy's thinking of it like that, and one of the panelists, so at the end of the show, episode, what happens is the panelists kind of like give him some advice, and this lady was saying, she was like, you could talk like that, but ultimately love's not about that. Love's about like, love, right? It's about your heart and all that. So like, if you really want to break up with her, and you just have to tell her, sorry, I don't feel you. I don't love you anymore. You can't just be like, yeah, you just care about the money. I'll give you back the money.
虽然你可以说我把20万连本带利还给你，但是这20万背后的情谊，以及在你人生最缺少机会的时候，他提供给你的资助，提供给你的机会。 所有的这一切的一切，你在当时是心知肚明的，你知道他要的是什么。
When I look upon my life, man, I look back and I see that like all the relationships I was in was all love. It definitely helped me to grow. So each person, no matter the beautiful, the ugly, it all plays a major part to say thank you to in some shape or form.
Yeah.
So when she says, you know, the relationship of people coming into our lives is definitely built upon love, whether you know it or not. It just may not be to your liking, but overall, like the yin and yang of it is a full package, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, he's right, man, and it's impressive for him to be like, I'll give you your money back in interest. I was like,
yeah, most guys won't even do that.
Just by him saying that, and if he really did that, then it says a lot.
Yeah.
Because I mean, then he wasn't just like, oh, you know, you're giving me money, and it's just.
Yeah, he wasn't just a sugar baby, you know, because he's like 22 and she's 33. And part of me feels like there's like this age thing too. Of course, there's sirens going on outside. Like, I just feel like a guy who's 22 will probably be like, oh man, she's 33, she's getting up there. You know, and some people would think 33 is not getting up there, but I think a guy who's 22, like, think about when you were 22, right? Like, when we were 22, could we even imagine ourselves dating 30-year-olds?
Yeah.
Maybe you could.
That's where all this facial hair came from, man. Straight up, when you said that, I was like, damn, I was literally, I think, 21 dating a 35-year-old.
Wow.
But I mean, you know, for me, I was just always attracted to just older women, just based upon, like, I loved the maturity and the growth. But, so yeah, kind of, you know, there's one side to it.
And this is why I wanted to bring on Sonny, because, you know, he's had very unique life experiences. I wanted to bring him on in this website. How did you meet that older woman, if you don't mind sharing with us?
That's a great question, because now it's like I got to dig in the database. I think it was like, if it wasn't a dating site, it was a chat line. But back then, when I was younger, I had 2 older brothers, and I was raised by them and influenced, and kind of I role modeled or whatever. And I used to just lie about my age all the time on those chat lines. You know, just be on the phone and be like, I'm in middle school, but I'm saying I'm like a grown man. I don't know how that got over. Some people, I think I used to deepen my voice enough.
It's the deep voice, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, baby. But yeah, it was ridiculous now that I think about it. But I was acting way beyond my age, and it caught up with me. I think in middle school I had like a full like facial hair and stuff.
Wow.
Like, I was trying to not age, and it was already happening at a young age. So
I see. And so, like, on one of those chat lines and stuff, you met this woman, and then you guys just started hanging out and going on dates and stuff like that.
It's interesting, man. I mean, I'm completely open, guys, so I'm not like covering it up. But yeah, she lived in a very wealthy area, and and she had a beautiful home, and I guess she had a thing for younger guys too. So she did sugar baby me, you know. She like was like, what do you want to eat? And it was funny because like the nice home, the nice area, the food, the enjoyment of the company, and all the sexual experiences, she just had too much of a sexual appetite to where that was what made me like ghost on her.
Oh,
just like,
wow.
Yeah, like when you're, you know, having sex 4+ times a day. Wow. And, you know, waking up where you're being rocked, you're like, what the hell? You wake up and she's riding you.
Wow. Wow. So she would sometimes like
much information, but
no, that's cool. I mean, this open platform. So sometimes it would even be like kind of non-consensual. Like you like be asleep, so you didn't give consent, and she just go for it.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It started. Yeah, that was a bit traumatizing.
Yeah.
I was just like, you know, what did I get myself into? Maybe I'm in too deep. And so when we wasn't hanging out, I've actually met someone my age, and actually felt what it felt like to like a normal relationship. So then I saw what I wanted versus what was like, you know, some type of pleasurable lust fantasy of mine. Yeah. And just went for what was real and what was worthy.
And I think this guy in this dating show, one of the reasons he probably doesn't want her anymore, I'm reading between the lines here, but I think he probably has met someone his age, like someone 20 to 22, who he feels like can have a more normal relationship, because, you know, this younger woman isn't going to spend, you know, 200,000 RMB at least on him and stuff like that. And it seems like some of the panelists were kind of critiquing this woman for being a little bit controlling too. So, you know, I think that's another thing. If you date someone who's at least 10 years older, I think they tend to be a little bit more controlling. So I had a roommate in 2015 he was 35. He got into a relationship with a 45-year-old woman, and eventually he had to break up with her too because she just got so controlling. Like it was good initially, right? She knew how to cook, let him do a lot of sexual acts maybe younger women wouldn't let him do. So like he was enjoying it, but then eventually she just used that almost like bait him in, and then it's like wouldn't give him the freedom, wouldn't give him the space of being a human or being a man. To her it was like the boy toy, kind of like probably how that woman treated you.
Like you said, it's a toy. It's like almost like the woman's being the owner. It's like there's ownership, and then there's also like when anybody's doing so much for someone and they're not like reciprocated in some type of way, somewhere along the line they might feel that you owe them or something like that. Yeah. So.
And then you'll get behavior like in this case in the dating show, her cutting up a cucumber being like, this might happen to you. Or, bunny in the pot is the common expression from that movie Fatal Instinct or Fatal Attraction. I forgot what the title's called.
Man, that's just crazy that she cut up a
cucumber. Cut up a cucumber. That's why I laughed. You heard me in there laughing in my room. That's what I was laughing about. Like, if you want to scare a guy away, do that. I don't think how that would tell a guy to be more like feeling you.
I mean, it's definitely like I wouldn't want to confront you about it. Be like, hey, what does this mean? I'd just be like, that's my sign to just
exactly.
I'll make a phone call from another state.
I'd sneak in, grab all my stuff, leave the key on the counter. Okay, bye bye.
With a burner phone or something. It's like an untraceable phone.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. In this episode, we can agree the woman is probably a little bit more at fault than the man. Yes, the man, he did some things. Maybe he didn't make his intentions clear, etc. He's trying to ignore the fact that they're kind of in a relationship as he's not feeling her. I think he's not ending it correctly. But I think she's a little bit more at fault, expecting all this from him and all this stuff. So that's just my thought.
I'm going to beg to differ a little bit. I think it's both of their fault, 50-50. And I hope I don't get any crap about this, but women, it's a very sensitive thing about, just speaking on any area about that, because we definitely don't know what it's like to be a woman. But I say both of them had the equal amount of choice that where they could have said no or yes, and so they just both need to take self-responsibility upon everything that they had part into and just leave it at peace with that.
Yeah. And I like that you have a different opinion because I can see your side too. Like at any point he could have been like, it's not that I don't have a job. I have a job. You don't have to spend this money on me. He could have said that, right? But he didn't. So you're right.
Yeah. So they both got they got an equal amount of guilt or things that on their behalf it wasn't right.
Yeah.
And that's it. At least there's no children or anything involved, right?
Exactly.
They got the rest of their life to continue on and do better with what they learned from each other.
Yeah, like think about Sonny. Like once he realized, okay, this is going too far, he just went, right? He went away. I think that's really the only two ways. You either like be like, okay, sorry, it's over, or you just be like, okay, it's over, and make her realize it's over by dipping. Basically, those are the only two ways. You can't just kind of let it drag on.
And in a relationship, man, communication has to be key. So if they would have been honest with each other, maybe just completely, brutally honest with each other to see how far they can go, then it wouldn't have been a problem. Yeah. Maybe everything would have been accepted in the moment, and they would have been able to continue to understand their agreement with each other of what they, their needs from each other. It's like, well, let me let you know why I'm so interested in you, and that would have been fine until the actual, like him, if he met someone younger, he'd be like, hey, something, we all knew this would come. Like if they were just clear on their expectations of each other.
That's why communication is so important. Like, and I'm speaking because I'm learning it too. Like, now if a girl likes me, I'll tell her, I'll be honest, I'm a guy. I don't mind having you around, but I'm not looking for a relationship, right? Sometimes you have to communicate like that because in my younger years, I wouldn't. And like people they would misconstrue. And so I learned because I don't want to be breaking hearts or hurting people. So I'm like, okay, if I communicate correctly and they misunderstand, okay, that's, less of my fault.
Yeah. And then I know that like Alpha and Omega, they appreciate that. I've been with women that really, really liked me, and I like them, but not to the point where I'm like, hey, like, I got to take my work more serious, so I'm not going to be able to give you the attention. I'm not really thinking that a relationship is ideal for me right now. Mm-hmm. But since I told him that in the beginning, and then told him whereas, I would like to continue what we're kind of building, but I can't promise you anything. Mm-hmm. That's not what she wanted to hear, but she appreciated that I was able to tell him something in an honest truth versus a lot of men who, kind of just led them on.
Yeah.
And vice versa too. Women do the same. So once again, man, if you just lay out your cards in the beginning, then it's not much of a disturbance in the middle of,
Agreed. Like, one very interesting sort of situation is if a woman already has a boyfriend, it doesn't mean you can't be friends with her. And sometimes it's an interesting kind of like dynamic when she has a boyfriend and you're like, okay, we're friends. Yeah. And the thought is not even like, oh yeah, well, one day she's gonna break up with her boyfriend, and no, that's not the thought. The thought's like, she's cool, and I'm cool, and we can still hang out.
Yeah, I mean, going deeper into it, but honestly, like I've been, if you have a relationship with a woman as a friend first, and then in time, if it's permitted to, go further in intimacy and stuff, it's so much more better that way, because the physical, like the sex, is so limiting to where after the sex then everything's awkward. So honestly, we all really just want to develop a friendship first. So even if there was a promise of her breaking up in a relationship or not, it's just so much more sweeter to just know that you guys have a grounded standing relationship as a friend. And then from there, if you did have sex, you could still go back to your friendship. It wouldn't be like, it'd just be part of the exploration.
I think that's one thing that it's like a very bad influence that came onto our society in the past 20 years. All these like self-help books, and I love calling out the pickup industry. It's like, no, you have to sleep with her first before you even get to really know her or even get to friend her, because once you friend her, you're never sleeping with her. Like, that's such advice that only applies in a very small subsection of people and situations. And it's like, bringing Sunny on, we can talk about so much more nuance in different types of relationships and different types of dynamics.
I mean, honestly, you're absolutely right. I think he like got me on here, and we were supposed to only speak for a little bit. Now I feel like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want to, have conversations with us, me and Jerry are going to do a podcast about sex, lies, love, happiness, anger, all of the things, man. So stay on the lookout.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like this is the beginning of a interesting series. But yeah, that's why I wanted to bring Sunny on, because this was such an interesting episode, and I've seen stuff like this before, but of course mostly in reverse, like a guy spending a lot of time or money or stuff on a woman, and the woman can't acknowledge that, we were kind of in a relationship. So if there's one thing you learn about this, people, communication, and try to empathize. I know it's hard, but try to empathize. Like, sometimes it's good. Like, he gave another perspective, and I'm empathizing with his perspective and stuff like that. So
neutral.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the Chinese couples therapy show. It's called In Protection of Love. And this looks like a pretty old episode. This is from 2012, a 2012 episode, April 2012 episode. Wow. If you guys like Sunny, I'm sure you guys do, we're going to bring him back. We can analyze more of this stuff. So, guys, let me know if you like this way, because I didn't really kind of watch it with you guys and kind of like react to it. Instead, I summarized it, and then you guys can watch it yourself, just because I'm so tired of trying to fight fair use battles. And so if I even decide to put a little bit of the clip in here, I don't even know if I will. But if you guys like this way, where it's just us analyzing, you guys can take the analysis and then watch the episode yourselves. Let us know. I know some of you don't speak Chinese, so you need the translation / my dubbing. But if you want that, let us know too. Either way, this was an analysis episode of In Protection of Love, the Chinese couple therapy show. And this is Jerry and Sunny. Leave a comment, guys.